Hey, you might know me. I done a bit of rap. I done a bit of hip hop, R&B. I grew up on the rough streets of Detroit, around 8 Mile, 13 Mile. Woo! Those places are bad. But you know what? Through it all, I learned something. I learned that you need money. You need money to survive. So I always know I'm going to be someone special when I grow up. I'm going to be a rapper. So what I did, I got into rap. But I started thinking, what's the money for? What do we need money for, yo? Money, what is it? And I'm from the dark, deep dark underbelly, the back streets, the hard streets. I know about money. I know what money can do, what people will do for money. But where did it come from? Why do we need it? So today we have our first ever interview with Amy. Now Amy's roughing it as well. She's also from the School of Hard Knocks, but she's been telling us about the origin of money. Now Amy ain't no ordinary person. We got another interview coming up after this one, and she is the daughter of the assistant of T.T. Brown from the 50s, who discovered electrogravity. And this is just sensational. So this interview, next interview, coming up, I advise you to watch it. I advise you to watch it because electrogravity, because I just got the passion for the fashion, and I'm going to get splashing. We're going to get, sorry. Let's get to it.
Okay. Well, hello. Good afternoon, Amaterasu Solar. Good morning to me.
You do a pretty good job of pronouncing that. Amaterasu Solar.
Amaterasu Solar. And
there you go. That's getting much closer.
Yeah, and you are one of the hosts on Conspiracy or Not, Here We Come, which is on currently on the Rufus Cat channel. Could you
well, actually, he got a couple of strikes, so he can't do it. Yeah, oh yeah, we've been doing it on either my Amaterasu Solar Again channel or on Bart's channel.
Oh wow! And could you give us could you give us a quick rundown on what that show is all about? I've been on it a couple times. I found it very interesting. Could you give us your rundown on it, please?
Well, basically, we invite people to come discuss their perspectives, and anything that is an interesting perspective is welcome. It is called Conspiracy or Not, so it may or may not include conspiracy items. But, you know, we do have a slight focus on conspiracy, mainly because from what we all gather, there is definitely a group probably well hidden that is in charge, or not in charge, but in control of, shall we say, our planet here.
Yeah, and could you also give us a quick rundown on the origin of your name and why you chose your name, because it is very interesting.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, a friend of mine suggested that I use Amaterasu. He liked the name, and I liked the name, being as Amaterasu is the Shinto goddess of the sun, and I like that quite a bit. And so I started using it back when everybody was pretty much anonymous on the web. And that was my chosen name. And then one day I was filling out some forms trying to contact somebody on the web, and it would not let me get past the last name option. And Solar just popped into my head. And so I went, what the heck? We've got the goddess of the sun, and we have Solar, which is related to the sun. And so I typed that in, and I've been Amaterasu Solar ever since.
That reminds me a bit of. Some people say Solomon is solar written 3 times. Sol om on. Don't know if you've heard about that.
Well, I've heard sol, moon. Sun and moon.
That's even
all.
that's even better. Sol on.
Yes, sun and moon.
Like Amun, I think, is the rising sun. Or, I don't know what
Yeah.
that is in Egyptian.
Yeah, who knows? I haven't studied that well enough.
Now, on your own channel, you cover a great variety of topics. One of the overriding themes is that you like to talk about how they are in control and directing us and all this. And I think today you'd like to talk about how what are the mechanisms that we're all being controlled, and I'd really like to get into. So do you want to kick off with that?
Okay, well, as far as the mechanism, there's really one that is at the foundation of their control, and that is the use of money, which, when you start really looking at what money is, it's an accounting for the human energy that each of us plugs into the system that accounts for our human energy added. And it also has the glorious element that it moves the bulk of our planet's wealth to very few. And given that these very few are not going out and making humanity healthier, happier, and more joyous, and instead seem to be toying with us, we have to conclude that these ones to whom the wealth is flowing are psychopaths, because a non-psychopath would care that people were suffering and struggling and so on. But a psychopath would not. Ergo, we have psychopaths in control on our planet. The reason that money is a mechanism for control is that not produce something and exchange it, whether we're talking trade, barter, work exchange, shells, beads, sticks notched and split, coins or metals, bills or electronic bits. If you're not doing that, it is real planet.
Sorry, could you repeat
And
that last bit?
so you have
You were just breaking up a little bit.
how far back?
Just the last sentence.
Well, I said if we have, oh, gee, I was on a roll and you just knocked me right off.
Sorry. Oh, we can
Okay.
always.
Basically, I think I was saying that regardless of what it is that you're using to account for the human energy, you need to have it in a system where it's, in order to survive and hopefully survive comfortably. And it is through the ability to withhold that the power comes to be, because then people want it and are willing to do things that are not ethical to get it. Whether it's because the person is desperate and needs the money, or whether it's because people are psychopathic and, hey, money, cool. I'll do that for, a buck or whatever. So, this is their foundational mechanism, and it affords them the strong arms, the toadies, the strong arms in the armies, because without accounting for our energy, there'd be no paying of armies, no paying others to do dirty work for us, which is basically what the psychopaths in control do. So you have money that gives them this power. And since it's just accounting for energy, and since it arose in a scarcity paradigm where human energy compared to what people wanted done was scarce, and you needed people to do things they didn't want to do, it makes sense that this exchange came forth out of whatever was going on. Now, there are two schools of thought on that. Some people say it just naturally evolved, and that's why we have it. But there are others who say that there are those who introduced it to our planet. And I have to give, if not by a huge margin, the highest probability to the latter. I think that it was something that was foisted on human beings upon this planet, specifically for the control mechanism.
That's fascinating. It sounds like you're saying there's something possibly even higher than humans, which is behind what has imposed this particular monetary system upon us.
Well, I don't know that I would call it higher per se. Certainly, I feel that there is a good probability that we're dealing with something that is not human. It could be, you know, I suspect it's ET. There are people who blame demons or interdimensional beings and so on and so forth. But I don't really need to get into metaphysical and twisted physics to explain what I see. You know, if we have ET, and there's certainly an awful lot of written evidence that strongly suggests that ET came to this planet from somewhere else. I suspect that that it's ET that initiated the systems that we now see instituted on our planet. And I strongly suspect that ET is not particularly empathic or caring. In fact, given the observable results, I have to say that we have psychopathic ET.
This is amazing, because I've always because they always talk about human nature, and they say, "Oh, human nature is running the system, and human nature is bad." And you're giving it a whole new perspective of a non-human intelligence, which is running the whole situation.
I have to give it that strongly because of I've been studying the gematria of things. And when you start looking at the probabilities that a specific number would show up through a number of different directions on the exact same event, and it has a connection to things like sacrifice and eclipse and so on and so forth, you begin to say this cannot be random. And it's been, when you go back and check things for centuries, you find these same things that show up in the events that we are told took place. And so you say somebody has computing power a lot greater than what we had up until very recently that is running the show. Um, so yeah, to me, human nature is exactly opposite of what they tell us. Human nature, as a rule, 9% of us are genetically psychopathic, about 1% of us across the board in all quote unquote and so on, 1% are genetic, and they are the ones top of the power. Those people at the top are psychopaths. Psychopaths.
Whoa.
Yeah, they're the ones that are getting all the money. But there would have to be something behind that. And my reasoning is because there seems to be a generational plan that has been going on this planet for many, many generations. And if you take your average psychopath, they would not care at all what happened after they died because it does not serve them. Psychopaths only care about what serves them. But if there is something behind them that is saying, if you do this, I will give you that. Do this, and I will give you that. So that this is keeping the plan on track. If there wasn't anything holding that plan together, I cannot see how it would persist over generations.
I think that's incredibly insightful. That the
Thank you.
1% of psychopaths seem to be representing what we define as a human nature driven system.
Yep.
And it's incredibly insightful because psychopaths are in the DSM and other textbooks as a kind of deviant, insidious intelligence, and yet they have sculpted the global system which we are a part of.
Yes, indeed. In fact, they do all these ghastly things like, pollute, do, planned obsolescence. Planned obsolescence is what's creating the vast bulk of waste on our planet. But they'd rather make money than take care of the planet. That's rather psychopathic in my book.
Well, it is. It's quite interesting as well.
So they do all these things and they blame humanity for it. And then we get this picture that, oh, I'm okay, I'm a good person, but everybody else is horrible. Because that's human nature. And it's not. Most of us are good, well, there's a lot of us who are secondary psychopaths where the psychopathy of the society kind of rubs off on them. They discovered that it's easier to turn off the feelings of caring and love and empathy and compassion. And that is to be expected in a society run by psychopaths. But if that was taken away and we were run by the caring ones, if the caring ones were taking care of things on our planet, there'd be little to no secondary psychopathy. And what few psychopaths there are, if they decide to do something unethical, the rest of us could pretty well handle the problem that they are creating. Because, humans are generally speaking very good people, but they've been made fearful, untrusting, sour on humanity through the indoctrination and propaganda that they have received from the ones who have a vested interest in people thinking that's how humans naturally are.
Now, do you think that this is imposed on us by some kind of magnetic field, such as the sun or a David Icke type situation? Like apparently, like he says, Saturn is evil, or the moon is artificial, or is it, as you say, like possibly ET? And if it is ET, is it an ET intelligence which is broadcast to the Earth? Maybe a kind of C.S. Lewis type situation. I know you're into science fiction. C.S. Lewis I think he held that the earth was ruled by Satan, and that Satan, in one of his books, I think Perelandra or one of those, he says that the satanic influence was trying to get onto Venus, onto virginal Venus, and that had to be opposed. Or did ET come and hybridize with a certain amount of population, say the Nephilim, and are they the psychopaths?
That it's a good question. I don't know. I give very high probability to the human race having been genetically engineered, much as the Sumerian tablets seem to suggest. Some of my clues are that, well, the big clue is in the number of genetic diseases that are passed on. When you look in nature, most species, virtually all, between 0 and about 20 that they can pass on. And lo and behold, over 4,000. Now, I'm not seeing how that would happen without some interference. But the broadcast, I don't think so. I don't think that it's not necessary to explain what I see. I see people with a lot of money who control the media, who control the military, who control the court systems, who control the education systems, who control the medical systems, who control the communication systems. I mean, basically, they've got their little sticky fingers in every single pie, and they present things to us on the media that when you start examining the details, you realize there's no way they could be telling us the real story here.
Yeah.
So, you arrive at the awareness that everything that they're putting out there has some kind of agenda behind it. Whether it's in, the school system is not to teach, it's not to educate, it is to output good order takers.
That's so interesting.
Good workers, not critical thinkers, not ones capable of logic and reasoning.
Sounds like a perfect dystopian sci-fi.
Oh, it is.
Society.
It is.
It is.
We are living it. Yes, we are.
That's amazing. Okay, Amaterasu. Well, I think we can wrap it up there, and thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
For being my first interviewee, and
hey, we can talk anytime you want.
Awesome, thank you, and I'm sure we will. Okay, and how can YouTubers locate your channel?
Okay, well, my channel is Amaterasu Solar. I have a backup channel, Amaterasu Solar again. And just typing in a search for Amaterasu Solar will bring up both channels. And you can either watch one or the other or both. Doesn't matter.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you, Amaterasu, and have a wonderful afternoon, the rest of your day, and thanks for being on the Charles Cost Show.
Oh, hey, my pleasure, absolutely.
Awesome.
Hey, y'all. That was Amy. She is a very fine lady, and she was telling us all about money and the dark powers behind it. All those dark things are happening. She's going to be back, and we're going to hear all about electrogravity, because she is the daughter of an assistant who was working for T.T. Brown in the 50s in his secret island laboratory. T.T. Brown invented electrogravity. That is going to be a special interview, folks. I'm out of here. Hope you have a nice day. Bye. You know, I just love that interview. It was all about the aliens coming down from heaven, the aliens coming and interacting with our brains, the brains going down the drains. Time for something else. It's time for what do you know? Charles, are you there? Is my limo here? Doesn't matter. We're going to talk about this article, and this is just sensational because it's about tattoos. So I got tattoos all over my body, everywhere. I've got, I'm not going to show you, I'm not going to take the clothes off, but Egyptian mummies, hidden tattoos, and the archaeologist who investigates on himself. I mean, this is just unbelievable. You look at this here, and it's archaeologists restored to find a tattoo on the shoulder of Gabalian man. Now, he's actually saying that archaeologists have always been prejudiced against folks with tattoos who like to decorate themselves. And so they've never mentioned it before. And, you know, it's 2018, you know, we're in the 21st century. Hello? I mean, it's just unbelievable. So these archaeologists, they say they couldn't believe their eyes. This is new news. And they saw animals. They saw... Damn, that looks like a swastika. This is evil, man. I don't know what that is. It's like an S or something, but there's 4 of them. Or a cyclone. Maybe like a hurricane or something dangerous like that. And they're all in the desert. They're digging, they're sifting, they're digging, they're sifting. And they're on an expedition in Egypt. So, the new tools, techniques, and they say traditionally what they do is they try and use infrared radiation to try and image the mummies, but this cooks the mummies. And they said this is bad science, right? No one wants to cook the mummy. That's just disgusting, folks. I can't believe, like, ew, I can't believe I'm reading this. That's disgusting. I don't want to eat a mummy. But they're saying they're tattooing themselves. And this archaeologist, he's been brave enough to experiment on himself with tattooing because he says they tried it with pig skin, with bone. They wanted to see how it was done. And it worked. So they thought, okay, let's try with human skin. And it worked. And he was tattooing his arm. But if you look at his arm, it's full of tattoos anyway. So it's not like he was doing anything different. Oh, my limo's here. See you, folks. See you next time. I'm going to go now. I've got a concert coming up. I've got fans outside. My details here. I have to go. Visit Charles Coss's Patreon. Visit his website. Check his next video. Check the next one on electrogravity. He's been real cool with me and my homies, letting me hang here, letting us hang here and party. So, see you next time. Bye.